At the end of the day, I want to watch a game or be at a game. No matter where someone is in their life, no matter what they do for a job, no matter what color their skin is, you just treat people with respect. And you know what? It works. Right now, the division within our country is the biggest issue. People are literally not getting along, and many times it just comes down to if you're an R or a D. People will now say, are you a Democrat? I have to unfriend you. Are you a Republican? I can't date you. It's crazy.
A lot of crazy things happened the last few months. Chevron is leaving California. Safeco, the insurance company, leaving California. It's so many houses for rent. Taxes are high. It's crazy. Like, it was my beloved state. State is going down to the drain right now. Hi guys, this is Sheena Ray Reynolds here, a podcaster. You know me for the person that do the most viral, controversial podcasts in America. I'm excited to be here. I have a new show with the most amazing person. I can't believe it myself. The mayor of Aventura, Florida, the most amazing city with the best mall, the highest level of living, and city that literally proved herself to be one of the best cities in this country. He's an example how to run a city, and not just that he's a lawyer and have so many degrees. Well, I'm going to let Howard talk. Hi, Howard.
How are you?
Great.
Great to be here. That's the nicest introduction I've had today.
Listen, you have so many degrees and it's like a whole line. I forgot it.
So I would agree that I'm a little overeducated, but I have my business degree, my bachelor's from the University of Miami, the U. I have a master's degree in government from Georgetown University.
Wow.
And I'm a lawyer. I have my law degree from Boston University. So I pretty much went up the coast. And now here I am back
Wow.
in Miami.
So people are going to ask us why we decided to do a podcast and call it The Mayor and Me. So after we had a few conversations, remember, like you told me how important it is to you to correct society, to show great things, and to make people better people, and basically to make life, a lot better. And it's possible because you actually proved that. And we wanted to create something unique and new. And I'm really curious to know, when we start talking and creating that thing, what did you think? How did you see it?
Actually, I thought, wow, you're already experienced at this. I usually am just a guest on podcasts. I get asked a lot to do podcasts. You're a podcaster. I'm just a guest. But then when you suggested the collaboration, I thought, you know what? There's a lot of reasons why it makes such good sense. But the most important one is what you touched on. We do things right in the city of Aventura, known as the City of Excellence. And quite frankly, it really is the City of Excellence with the lowest taxes in South Florida, which, by the way, it's never gone up in the history of the city, our tax rate. And we have a high level of service, and we have happy people. We have the most wonderful residents. I mean, I love our people. I love our city, but I love our people. Today, we were handing out roses at drop-off for the parents, the moms dropping their kids off.
Oh, roses. Wait, guys, you're not going to believe it. He gave me Valentine roses. I haven't got Valentine roses for 3 years. I'm like, it's such a nice gesture. And I want to add something to what you said. You said the best city in America and everything. And I want to say something. I come from LA, and I'm not used to see people happy like that on the streets. You don't see homelesses. You don't see people cursing, stealing from supermarkets. You don't see racism toward Jews or blacks, and it's something, for me, it's something very new. I'm not used to it. So what's the secret? I want to know the secret.
And that's why I thought a podcast, because we can replicate that elsewhere, right?
Of course.
It's a very difficult time, obviously. We're so divided as a nation and as a world. So if we can do our small part to discuss those issues, and people can get along, it actually works in Aventura. The secret is to understand each other. And like everything else, communication. Look, here we are communicating.
Yeah, of course. And I wanted to also say something. When I wanted to do that podcast, as a person who born in Israel, as a Jewish, you know how difficult it is for us right now in the world, everywhere we go. And obviously, I don't want to make it a podcast that talk just about politics, Israel, Jews, But I think for the first couple episodes, it's important to me that we address it and show some things, because we here as a small community in the world, as a Jewish small community in the world, that been prosecuted, haunted, judged all through the history. And you are an example of a Jewish person that made a whole community better, regardless if it's Jewish, Christians, Blacks, Hispanics. You make your community 100 times better. And that's my goal too, even though I'm not a mayor, right? So that's why it's important to me in the first couple episodes to show example and debunk all this propaganda and stuff that going against us. Is that a topic that actually touch you or scare you or trigger you when you see stuff about people talking about your religion like that?
Of course, absolutely. And I am very proud. I'm on a national, excuse me, I'm on a national mayor's committee, a mayor's board to combat anti-Semitism. 15 mayors from across the nation.
Wow.
But I have to tell you, there are hundreds, literally, of like-minded mayors. I go to conferences,
Wow.
and I'm talking about men and women, and black and white, and Jewish and Christian and Muslim and gay and straight, and we have different politics, but we're all on the same page
Of course.
that we can get along. And there are great mayors out there, and our tagline is pretty much this: mayors get shit done.
Yeah.
And we can. And so it's not just me, although I'm a messenger with this podcast, but I'll have a lot of mayors come on as guests, and they are fascinating.
You're friends with a lot of high influence people. And I saw, since we met a few months ago, I saw some of your relationships and how you operate. And I never heard one, seriously, I'm not just saying it because we're here. I never heard one bad word about you. Everybody say, oh my God, he's got so much integrity. He contributes so much to the community. He raised money. He helped the kids. You're literally in every event that you can contribute from your time. And it's something that I haven't seen in a long time, and I know a lot of people too. So that's something that I admire about you. And I want to learn, of course, more. I think I can learn from you a lot more. And also, I like the fact that between you and me, we have a lot of interesting guests. It's not just business people and political people. It's, people from all layers of society that can come, contribute, and learn and teach us something, right?
Absolutely. All walks of life. Even I'm a huge sports fan, so we're going to touch on that too. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to watch a game or be at a game. And so it's a lot of fun. Just one quick thing is I do get along with a lot of people. I appreciate you saying that. It stems back from my parents, who told me in grade school, the person you see mopping the floor at your school, you treat them the same way you treat the principal of your school.
Of course.
And no matter where someone is in their life, no matter what they do for a job, no matter what color their skin is, you just treat people with respect. And you know what? It works.
Yeah. You forgot to introduce me. I forgot about that.
I'm so sorry. Sheena Ray Reynolds, who is, let me say this first, because it's recent, best-selling author, Unstoppable on Amazon. Buy that book. TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, master meditator, and podcaster, just to name a few.
Yeah, thank you.
Actress.
I used to be an actress. And yeah, so I wanted to talk about more like deep stuff of what I want to also accomplish in the future. But before that, I want to remind the audience, and I'm talking to the audience right now, we are doing this podcast from our own budget. So if you want to donate, contribute, you always welcome. We're going to put all the links later, so you can, if you want to contribute to our podcast, if you have ideas or questions that you want us to address in the show, we'd be more than happy to actually do it. And
I think we should say we're at The Move, the greatest broadcast studio in Miami, maybe the greatest in the country. But what an amazing facility in the Wynwood section, which everybody loves Wynwood these days. It's very in.
Yeah.
The Wynwood section of Miami. So this is just a wonderful, and the people here are the best.
I wanted to talk about The Move for a second, because The Move, it's not just a studio that we're recording. They are actually our partners. And the reason we chose them as the partners It's because remember how we went into shop, we went from place to place, tried to talk to people, see people, but we realized that it's not just a good studio. They have a structure. They built the studio and their staff in a way of a professional, let's say like Fox News or something like that. And it's something that I was excited about. I feel like I'm in a real television studio, so it's something that I like to work with. And obviously I've been in hundreds of podcast and this is one of the best I've seen in the world. I recorded in Israel, in England, in all over the world. This is literally one of the best. So I'm excited about the collaboration. I think we can accomplish a lot here. And not just that, they have a lot of high influence people who record here. So I think it's good for us too.
Yeah, they can definitely name drop if they wanted to about who comes here. I won't do that. I'll just mention one, Shaq.
Yeah, Grant Cardone, a lot of people. So so I want to know, what is the main subject or issue that we think that we should start talk about to the audience that you think we need to change in society, not necessarily in Aventura or in Florida, something that you would like to see a change in America in general? Because me as a new citizen to this country, as a foreign who grew up and raised in Israel, I have a lot to say, but I'm curious first to hear you, since you're an American and you already did your changes in your city.
I think right now, the division within our country is the biggest issue because people are literally not getting along. And many times it just comes down to if you're an R or a D, right? It shouldn't matter, a Republican or a Democrat, but all kinds of connotations. People will now say, are you a Democrat? I have to unfriend you. Are you a Republican?
That's
I
stupid.
can't date you. It's crazy because it should be so much deeper than that. And we don't all have to agree philosophically or politically, but this has become such a thing, and it is so damaging and it is so devastating, and it's playing out.
But I disagree with you. You want to know why?
Sure.
Because I could not date a guy that doesn't have the same political views as me, because I don't want to sit in the evening with my boyfriend or my husband and listen to him going against my party because I'm very political. So I think it's difficult. But with that being said, I do agree with you that we don't have to fight. We don't have to hate each other. But,
That's the key. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with having differing views and being in love, right? It's okay. It's all about respect.
yeah.
You can respect. It doesn't mean the other person is wrong. But see, that's the problem, is you immediately dismiss, not you, but this is what's happening. Immediately dismiss
I
as
tried
soon as
it
you hear.
before.
And listen, you know how they say, well, some of my best friends are Republicans, some of my best friends are Democrats. Personally, I have no party affiliation. And I don't care what you are. I care who you are. And I do care what you stand for. But the D or the R
Values.
next to your name doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to reach across the aisle to my left or to my right. I think the problem is the far left and the far right, because most of us
Yes.
are in the middle, and most of us are
Yes.
rational and reasonable and moderate. But what's been taking over both parties,
It's
because
the
they have to be
radicalism.
there has to be primaries, it's the far left and it's the far right. By the way, they're equally damaging, in my opinion, and
course,
equally
of
bad
course.
for our nation.
Of course, that's what I think. And I think as an Israeli, that somebody who grew up in Israel, to come here and to see all this hatred towards America from America, and it's something that it's really painful to me personally, because I worked so hard to become an American and to come here, and it was my dream. And to come here and to see so many Americans go against America and have hatred for this country, it's something that I cannot agree. It triggers me because I have an outside perspective, because I speak many languages and see the news in so many, things.
We're on the same page with that. I start every meeting in my city with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would never have it any other way. And I usually choose kids from our school to lead us in the pledge. I
Wow.
think it is so important, and I am so grateful that my grandparents immigrated here and were able to create a life for themselves and their children and their children's children.
Where
And
did they
so
immigrated from?
from Eastern Europe.
Oh,
And my grandfather didn't speak a word of English on the first day of school. And his mother said, just say whatever the child in front of you says.
wow.
And when the teacher said to the child in front of you, what's your name? The kid said Charles. And so my grandfather said Charles. It wasn't until his late 80s when he passed away at his funeral that I learned for the first time
That his name is not Charles.
that his name is Israel. He became an eye surgeon, very accomplished, and he was Dr. Charles Sheckman. And I was so proud of him. And he never forgot the people that helped him get to where he was.
See, that's the kind of stories I want to put out there for the world to know about the Jewish community. Because right now we have something really weird going on. When every podcaster I meet or know personally, and they go and talk about Israel is the devil, we drink in children blood. They talk about Harvey Weinstein. And to me, it's odd because the Israel I know and the Jews I know are completely the opposite. And it's topics that I really want to touch. Since we are in a podcast and not in a TV show, it's easier to go into that and actually talk about it, because I think it's like you'd say the word Palestinians or you say the words blacks. It's never general. It's always, groups of different types. It's like you say Jews, we have Orthodox, we have liberals, we have atheists. It's always not something that it's super general. And when you see after I had it in my family, Holocaust survivors talking about the Holocaust. And then as a podcaster coming to shows and people say me, you a Zionist and you Jews and you Yed and you do this and you do that. It's something that really bothers me. And when I say bother me, it bothers me on the everyday life. When after I go out from a podcast, when people, it's like the N-word. They call me Yed. It's just like the N-word. It really triggered me. And I try to figure out and think about ways to explain the truth, to show other side. How do you feel about that? And before you answer, I want to say something else. When I ask people about it, they don't realize the gravity of the damage and the propaganda that goes out there. That's why you see every few months they kill someone here or they bomb there. This propaganda actually making the times today just like the times of 1935. What do you think about that?
When I was younger, there was no social media. Now everything is magnified. It's on steroids. So we didn't call it bullying when I was in school, but as an example, when you had Mean Girls, for example,
Yeah.
it was terrible.
Yeah.
But there weren't things posted that led young girls, to want to kill themselves. Are you kidding me? It's so horrible. But this is the power of social media. So you're right. Those messages are very impactful, and the false narratives and the campaigns, the marketing campaigns, essentially to spread lies and misinformation. To me, I always like anecdotal stories where you actually put a name and a face to it. I mean, I mentioned my grandfather a moment ago. He became an eye surgeon. When he became an eye doctor, he went to Pakistan to treat those that were not being treated. He saved the vision of hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And the Pakistanians at the time said he couldn't bring any meds with him. And he realized that without the medicine, he can't save people's vision. They're going to go blind. So he smuggled, I guess my grandfather was a drug smuggler. In the lining of his clothes, he smuggled the medicine that was necessary to save the vision of these people. He didn't care what their religion was. He didn't care what they thought politically. He didn't know them. And the point is, that's the anecdotal. Just like I have a mayor in a neighboring city who's Haitian.
Yeah.
He's so pro-Israel. You know why? Because the first time, because he's so pro-Israel because every time there is a horrible natural disaster in Haiti, the first people there are the Israeli rescue teams.
I know. And that's what exactly.
Saving lives, not caring what color their skin is or what their religion is. That's anecdotal, and that's the facts.
That's what I want to talk about. That's the things that I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about my history, your history. I want to talk about facts that happen in Israel, because when you see the propaganda in the news and from podcasters such as Candice Owen, Myron Gaines, all of these Tucker, like all of these, media people that become huge and have followers because they're good at what they do, but they shifted. And I think personally, they've been bought and start spreading propaganda, take bits and stories. Like, for example, if it's small little false story and then another small false story, it could be religion, political, whatever, they put it all together. They heard a word like Gemara or Zionism and they turn it into something completely different, right? And to me, as an Israeli who speak Arabic and understand what I hear in Arabic, Hebrew, English, and I see the vice versa changes, it's something that really bothers me. And that's the reason I become a podcaster, because I want to talk and show facts and show truth. And I think when you take a small minority group that is actually less than 1% of the world, right? Less than 1%, and you compare it to society of 2.5, 3 billions, even if you're the correct one, the world can see it, because number-wise, they're always gonna debank you. They're always gonna win you. I don't know what's the right terminology. So to me, it's very important to talk about those things, because Israel and the Jews are not one entity. It's a lot of layers. You have a lot of Arabs Jews, European Jews, Black Jews, Mediterranean Jews. And what you said, it's so true. We contribute to society. It's an earthquake in Turkey, we go and help. In Syria, we go and help. Like even to our enemies. And yet they always choose to hate us. And the reason I mention it, because it's so many mayors like you, Jewish, not like you specifically, but it's so many people with authority, Jewish like you, that contribute to society and do a lot of things, and you never get highlighted. They only highlight the bad things. And how can we fight it? I want you to help me understand that.
All we can do is keep getting out the truth. That's all we can do. Eventually, the truth prevails. If you look at history, right? And this is nothing new. It seems to be cyclical, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It happens every few decades where things get pretty bad. And the Jews, they survive. But truth prevails. So again, the more anecdotal evidence we can point out. And one of the things that I find very helpful is when you take a group and bring them to Israel.
Yeah.
Especially non-Jews. And all of a sudden the narrative and everything they've been told melts away.
Exactly. It's lies.
I've been on trips to Israel with mayors, non-Jewish. We had a trip in November with some mayors from Africa.
Wow.
And everything they had heard
was a lie.
Everything they had heard was a lie.
Tell me about their expression.
And they were taking back the truth to their people, to their constituents. We have a federal judge down here, Roy Altman, really, really sharp. I believe he's the youngest federal judge in the United States. I believe he's a Trump appointee. Very sharp, Ivy League educated, local young man. He's done 3 or 4, I think 4 trips to Israel with federal judges. The people, his colleagues around the country, non-Jewish, takes them to Israel, and their entire frame of reference changes. In fact, he also just wrote a book, which I'll have him on as a guest to promote his book. I just ordered it on Amazon. It won't be out till April. But he tells the truth. So these things eventually bear fruit, but it's a hard struggle. And by the way, it's not just Jews, right? The truth has to come out about
everybody.
All oppressed groups.
Of course.
And this whole idea that there are only 2 groups, oppressed and oppressors.
It's not.
It's just not the case.
Yeah, and the reason the reason today a lot of people confused, and I said it in a couple podcasts, I said, instead of coming and arguing with us or trying to say derogatory words or hate us or go to protest, Come learn from us how to make money. Come learn from us how to be an entrepreneur. Come learn from us how to create out of nothing. And I give them an example. When the Jews after 1948, 1945 came to America and went to a med school and wanted to come and work as a doctor, they didn't want to give them the opportunity. So what did? They opened Cedar Sinai, again creating jobs for the non-Jews. And I say, sorry, go ahead.
It happened with med schools. It happened with vacations. That's how the Catskills got started,
Oh,
because
really?
Jews
Oh, I
weren't
didn't know that.
allowed in the other resorts, so they created their own. That's how
Wow.
country clubs, Jewish country clubs, got started. Jews were not allowed in quote unquote restricted clubs. So yeah, they did what they had to do. That's how, for example,
Coping mechanism.
Brandeis University, known as the Jewish Ivy back in the day, because there were restrictions on Jews and for everything. Down here in South Florida, there's a whole history on Miami Beach where Jews were not allowed, and blacks.
Wow.
And we can go into that another time, but it was pretty bad. There was if you go to Lincoln Road, you can still see the building where you go up to the top and you look around, and this was the way they sold vacant land back in the day in Miami Beach when it was being developed.
Wow.
And they said, pick out your lot. And the tagline was, always a view, never a Jew. And that's what they said.
Oh my God. No Jews, no news, right? No, I didn't. Listen, I didn't want our first episode to be only on Jews, but I think that it's important that we're going to vent it out and take it out there, because I think right now to come and shoot a podcast and be super politically correct and not address the elephant in the room, specifically because we're going to bring a lot of successful entrepreneurs that come from nothing. That's why we choose our first and second guests as really successful Jewish people who come from nothing and literally build a huge businesses, because we want to give an example. When you focus on creation and prosperity and not on hatred and hating the other people, that's when you become successful. And I think this is the secret. And I think that's what we talked about before, that we want to actually show about business and how to be successful and how to collaborate. So it's something I'm excited about.
Me too. Hard work. Is there any substitute for hard work? Not in my opinion.
Yeah, and hard work, it's not just going, because I don't believe that money you do necessarily with your hands. I think money is something that you create here, right? But hard work, it's 24/7. If you have a business, you say, no, now it's 5 o'clock. Sorry, I'm not working. I'm off the clock. I think it's stupid, because when you have a business or your entrepreneur mind, I think you need to be on the clock 24/7, because you never know what opportunity might come to you, or who's you going to meet, or what's going to happen, right? What do you think?
I completely agree. And if it's something you love, it isn't work, right? If you're chasing your passion, it's not work. But yes, if you're just punching a time clock and that's your goal, you're never going to be really happy.
Yeah.
You can do it. Believe me, I've punched plenty of time clocks in my day. You do it on the way up, right?
Yeah.
And then you reach your goal and you go for it.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about business too, because when I saw your list of degrees and everything, I was overwhelmed, because I'm a person that considers to do a lot of things, but to literally sit down and have degree after degree after degree and be successful in all of it, I want to understand how your head works, how you wired. It's something I really want to learn from.
So I don't want to burst your bubble, but some of it was 9 years of college. But you know what? I loved college life. So
Really?
it's not like it wasn't all so
You had a lot of action.
work. I made it a balance. And the University of Miami, what an amazing 4 years that was. Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., with a political mind and interning at law firms. I loved it. And then, of course, Boston, there's probably 35 universities there. That's where I spent 3 years in law school. A lot of time was in the bleachers at Fenway Park watching the Red Sox. It was actually, there's a way to have fun while you're learning, right? It's a balance.
Yes.
And when you strike that balance, it's not such hard work.
I want to ask you something. It's a little bit off topic, but I'm very, very curious to ask you, since I live in California. What do you think about Newsom? Because I'm, as an immigrant living in this state and see the, like, I see LA for the last 25 years, how it was amazing when I got there, celebrities, Hollywood, everything. And then you see the, so, excuse my language, shithole that we see right now. You know, like how it comes from very high end, beautiful hotels, tourists, and now you cannot walk 2 steps in Hollywood Boulevard without getting mugged, beat, spitted on, pushed. What would you do if you were there?
Listen, I don't want to pretend that I would be a better mayor than a better governor than Newsom. You're asking about Newsom?
Yes.
I'm not going to pretend I would be a better governor than him. All I can tell you is that I don't believe in taxing people so much that they decide to leave, okay? I don't believe in
Wow.
high taxes.
I didn't even think about it.
I don't believe in no bond arrests. I believe in law and order. And I believe that there are consequences to behavior. I don't believe in not prosecuting shoplifting, okay? I just don't believe in those things because I don't think they work. I think they have an opposite effect.
You know,
They
after
encourage repeat offenders. So I think that what I've seen in California, let me just say this. I'm glad I'm in Florida. There's a certain pretty high-ranking Facebook employee, although not really an employee. He's the guy. He just had enough. He just bought right down here. So this is what's happening. Now they can't tax him anymore. So guess what?
But you know, a lot of crazy things happened the last few months. Chevron is leaving California. Safeco, the insurance company, leaving California. It's so many houses for rent. Taxes are high. It's crazy. Like, it was my beloved state, you know? Like, my state is going down to the drain right now.
And I want to say, anytime I've been in California, I find it spectacularly beautiful. The countryside, the mountains, the coast. It's such
Yeah,
a
it's
gorgeous place.
yeah.
I go every year to Napa on a trip.
Yeah,
It's
no.
gorgeous. But again, taxing everyone till they want to leave is not the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in America in general, today they crying about America, 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 but they don't understand that this country, and I'm saying it as an immigrant, give you so much opportunity. And I give you an example. When I got here and I didn't have Social Security, I remember one day sitting with my son in the car eating, and I saw a homeless guy, and I looked at him. My son said, "Why are you looking at him?" I said, "This homeless guy have Social Security." You know, imagine if I had his Social Security, what I'm gonna do with that? You know, so I understood the importance that I have to go and work and become a citizen and have Social Security, and how important that is. And I see so many people have Social Security and they have the pointing start. They have something to start from, and they don't do nothing with that. They're just wasting their time and crying about the country, crying about the government. And look at your city. It's one of the most amazing cities, and you have all layers of society, and they live in prosperity, and they don't cry about nothing. And then when you go to LA, it's completely the opposite. People cry about their color, about their religion, about how they don't make money. How do you explain it, the difference?
I love our people. Everyone wants to contribute to make our city better. And by the way, there's a homeless problem everywhere. Okay, we have homeless.
How would you change homelessness?
So again, it's a very, very difficult issue. A lot of homelessness is centered around mental illness.
Yeah.
And that is a fact. So most people are good people. And when they see someone on the street, they want to help. And when our residents see that, oftentimes they will feed them, or they will give them a few dollars, or they will give them a sandwich. The reality of it is, based on all the research that I've been able to acquire and read, is you're not doing them a favor. You're enabling them.
Exactly.
If you make it easier to be on the street, they'll stay on the street.
Of course, because they get free benefits.
So what you want to do is you want to get them help. What you want to do is get them into a shelter. Now, there's many reasons why a homeless person doesn't want to go to a shelter.
Why?
Many reasons. One of which is that they can't have alcohol in there. Sometimes they have a dog that won't be allowed in there. They have rules in there, and they don't want to also socialize with anyone else. They don't want to be around anyone else. There are reasons for it. So we have an ordinance which was then became state law. We passed it first in our city, but now the state has passed something very similar. And if a homeless person is sleeping on the streets, asleep, then our police officers can offer them two choices: to bring them, to arrest them and go to jail, or to give them a ride to the shelter and give them a bed. So we reserved with our tax dollars beds.
You have enough space for all
Well,
of
it's a
them?
county homeless shelter. It's for anyone in the county. It's not in Aventura, it's in Miami, and we will bring them there if they choose to go there. So what we're doing, you have to sometimes exhibit tough love.
Yes, of
And
course.
I try to educate our people. I know you feel bad, but by giving him a sandwich, you are making it easier for him to stay where he is, which, by the way, it's dangerous for him to be on the street because
Yeah.
there's violence. Even in Aventura, if you're sleeping on the street,
Of course.
someone may do something bad to you, especially a female.
Of course.
The other thing is, if you give them money, they're not buying a sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, they're
Unless
buying
you're buying it for them and give
the
it
first thing they're going to buy is an airline-sized bottle of booze. Okay,
Ooh.
depending on what you give them, they're going right to the store to buy a bottle. Have you helped them? No, you've enabled them to make their problem worse. So I get it. You're trying to be compassionate. They need to be in a shelter. So that's an issue. And by the way, we're not immune to it. We don't have a wall around our city. Okay, so everybody deals with it. I understand that California has this issue because why? The climate. We have it in Florida too. It's much easier to be on the streets in
Of course.
Florida than New York City, which, by the way, I'll go into another time. But at least 24 people died in the last 2 weeks in New York City
Ugh.
because of the severe cold, and the mayor did not allow social services to forcibly remove people from the streets.
That's
What
so
happened?
stupid.
They froze to death.
Of course.
They froze to death because they're not capable of taking care of themselves. And all the social services were allowed to do was say, please come with us, not forcibly take them. Sometimes you have to help those who cannot help themselves.
I want to go a little bit. It was great, by the way. I want to go a little bit off topic. What you said, I realized that in the radical democratic state, you have very weak people. When you come and it's a lot of like radical feminism as well. Like when I'm in Florida, I see a lot of women that are in their feminine energy. They're very feminine and they're very nice to men and polite to men, and the way that the men would open the door and pay for the dinner, not as a gold digger, just the way they carry themselves. And when you go to LA, the women are very bossy. Why do you open my door? I don't like you to open my door. I can open my own door. Like I can literally, for the 2 weeks I'm here, see it from my own eyes, the differences between LA and Florida, like how the women treat the men or how they treat the men when they treat them in a certain way. Like I saw like maybe 4 women here waiting for the men to open the door. And I love it. And then when I go to LA, I always see women arguing with the men. No, like unless the men pay the dinner, and then what they do, it's something that become very popular in Los Angeles right now, and everybody talks about it. Men decided to take a woman to dinner. They order a bunch of food, put it in plastic bags, and go home with a bags of food. Something that become very popular. So I think, and the reason I'm talking about it, because you see the society changes and operates according to the head of the person who run that, that area, that state, that city. You see like the way the people operate, the way they respond, the way they care, like they don't throw stuff in the street. I don't want to sound horrible to Los Angeles, but one of the things that really trigger me, when you go somewhere, you see people throw stuff on the street and it's always dirt and garbage. And it's terrible, like you see people acting like they don't care. Like my house is clean. I don't care what's going to happen on the street. I think it's terrible.
Call me old-fashioned, but I'm always gonna be a gentleman, and I'm gonna open the door for a woman, and if she gets offended by it, I consider it her problem, not my problem. I'm not changing the way I was brought up, that a woman is a woman and she should be on a pedestal. So I'm proud to be a gentleman.
I want to ask you something. You saw the podcast that I did in whatever podcast, the podcast that I was talking a lot anti-radical feminism. Did you see it?
Yes.
So one of the DMs I get, the people say, "Oh my God, how do you think like that? Are you European? Are you from Eastern Europe?" So I realized by all the DMs that I'm getting that people in this country craving to deal with people that are old school mentality. They craving to talk to normal women who's not gonna shout, who's not gonna curse, who's not gonna scream, and craving to have people actually operating normal, like men be a woman being a man. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a complex question, okay? It's nice when a gentleman is a gentleman and a lady is a lady, but on the professional level, I'm all about female empowerment. I've
Course.
worked for the last 10 years for a female-owned company. She's amazing. She is just tremendously talented and brilliant. As an attorney, the best lawyers I've ever seen in the courtroom are women.
But it doesn't
So to me,
contradict.
a woman can be successful, professional, tough as nails, and beautiful at the same time. To
Yeah.
me, it doesn't have to be an either or. I never understood that. It's not a black or white. It's not a yes or no. You can be both. And that, to me, honestly, the sexiest thing in the world.
Yeah. No, but that's not what I quite meant. I think you're absolutely right. I'm on there with you. But I think the society today tried to divide, to say, if you like men and if you respect men and if you treat men with respect, then you're, like you're a certain type. Or if you go against men, then you're strong and powerful. Like, I don't like that. And I think what you just said, that's the perfect combination. You can be strong, you can have a career, but you can love men and treat them with respect. I don't see any contradiction. But what do you think about this radical behavior towards men, specifically white men today?
Quite frankly, it's been going on since at least the 70s in this
Really?
country. It's nothing new. I can tell you again, I like anecdotal evidence, as I said. I have a friend who had the franchise for Hooters restaurants, and he had one in Boulder, Colorado. And the young ladies who worked there loved their job, loved it. But Boulder was also the headquarters for what was called, maybe it still is now, National Organization for Women. And the National Organization for Women decided that girls should not work at such a place. By the way, Hooters is not a gentleman's club. There's no stripper pole. There's no
Yeah, I know.
there's no nudity, and there's chicken wings and beer and NASCAR races on TV. Well, they would throw rocks through the window to destroy the business because they decided that other women shouldn't be allowed to choose where they want to work. Can you imagine such a thing? This has been going on. This was decades ago. He closed the restaurant, and those girls who worked there lost their jobs because other women decided they shouldn't have a job there. They shouldn't wear short shorts.
Yeah, and
Okay, imagine that. Not you have the freedom, you're a liberated woman, you do what you want. No, they're going to tell them what's right. So it has been going on.
but I want to add something to what you just said. That's really outstanding to me, and I'll tell you why. Because with that being said, they also support the girls that do OnlyFans and massive, massive new age prostitution. For example, like Bonnie Blue that sleeps with 1,000 or 1,500 men at night, right? So they support her going and abusing her soul, her body, everything. But then when a
You
woman,
sure it's only at night? Because with those kind of, there's only 24 hours in a day, so it may be
exactly.
not just at night.
But they go against girls who want to work in Hooters. But you understand, like everything is like a big contradiction. Like if you abuse yourself, hypocritical, and if you abuse yourself and make money, oh, you're feminist and amazing. It's all of a sudden it's become popular to abuse yourself. And by the way, to me, I don't care if it's virtual or physical. I think when a woman go and do something in that scale, I don't have nothing against Bonnie Blue. She can do her career. I really don't care. But I think when somebody in their 20s go and have sex with thousands and thousands and thousands of men, eventually it would affect your soul. And when you put that out there to society, and she actually said something smart. I saw her interview with Andrew Tate, and she said, because he was like, "Why are you doing this and this and that?" And she said, "Isn't that what feminism preach? That I'm an independent woman. I can do what I want. I can work in prostitution. And now when I'm doing it, everybody go against me." So she's an example of a failed society. They indoctrinating the young women that it's okay. I mean, I'm not against sex. You want to have sex, fine. But to take thousands of men and call yourself an influencer and make a career out of it, that you can get sick and influence young men that they can sleep with a woman that slept with thousands of men. What do you think about it? Because to me, that new era of OnlyFans, it's weird. Like I don't know how to wrap my head around that.
I think consenting adults can do whatever they want. I don't have to respect it. In fact, I don't. To me, that's garbage.
But don't you think it destroys society?
Destroys society? No. I think smart people will look at it exactly as you do and exactly as I do, which says, I say, there's something wrong with her. There's something wrong with her. Clearly, if she went to a therapist, they would probably uncover some kind of childhood trauma, some kind of where she doesn't feel that she deserves anything, or she's not good enough for anyone. I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff going on inside her head that's, damaged her. But I don't think she has the capability of destroying society, because to me, it makes it even more of a lesson for my children. Like, this is exactly what you do not want to be. This is disgusting.
But I contradict you, and I'll tell you why. Because you raise children in a good household when you have a good relationship with them, and you're probably your girl. I haven't met her, but probably in her 20s, she would know the difference between right and wrong. But imagine a girl that doesn't have a father, the father is absent, or she have like an abusive mother, or grew up in an orphanage, or whatever bad growing up have, and she didn't have a role model to look up to, because we look at role models and reassurance all the time as we grow up, right? And when she sees somebody like Bonnie Blue, which is beautiful, right? Know how to run her social media, have great makeup, great designer clothes, riding expensive Lambo, and having a great social media, and then doing the most dirty, sleazy, slimy stuff you can see in prostitution, right? It does change society, because when you see her events and the people and the young youth that come there and what they do, I think it does change society. And that's one of the topics I want to talk to you about, because I think even though it's controversial, I think people like you and me need to discuss that, because you see it a lot at the time off topic. People mention that as a joke or something fun in podcast. I think nobody really go into the rabbit hole of these topics, which is crucial, because after she become viral, it's become the Bonnie Blue era, that it's like not one girl that sleeps with 1,000 guys a night. It's now, a whole variety of girls that do it, all color, all shape, and I think it does affect society in a severe way. So
I can only hope you're wrong. I know with my own children, they think it's disgusting, but I may be too optimistic that others think
you
that
are.
way. So
trust me, you are too optimistic.
I'll defer to you on that, and it's really a shame.
I think that a lot of things today in this 2026 era, right? As we spoke about Bonnie Blue and social media and what's going on with social media and TikTok, it's very easy to go down to the drain and throw your life. I don't know, you're not a lot in the TikTok world, right?
No.
So I do a lot of political debates on TikTok, at least 3 times a week. And I see not just the sexual aspect of it, like Bonnie Blue and stuff like that, or porn. I see when it comes to politics, right? When it comes to Trump, when it comes to Mark Zuckerberg or any other famous political person.
He just moved to Miami.
Yeah, you see a lot of people in TikTok that have no clue with education or politics or Israel or Palestine or blacks or whites or whatever, right? And they come on TikTok and they sit for 2 hours, open a platform and open the boxes, speak in the boxes, and they make a lot of money talking about stuff and people take them seriously. You see a guy for an hour talk about really, really bad things, indoctrinating youth, and people put money, for his show to continue and going on. He make like $2,000 an evening, $3,000 an evening, talking bad about these people and legitimize it. And I think it's dangerous. What do you think about that? You think it's something we should change?
That's pretty scary. I don't know that we can change it, but I know that I'm going to learn more about it, having heard about it now, that people are paying for that content.
Yeah, people
So
definitely.
I'm going to learn more about TikTok. I've always stayed away from it when it was
Why? I'm curious.
because the algorithm from the Chinese
Yes.
very damaging to the things that I believe in. Now, coming under new ownership, Oracle,
Really? I didn't know that.
Ellison. So I believe that the format, I believe
They
that
bought it?
the algorithm will change. Well, there was a deadline, there was a mandate that it not be owned by the Chinese. So the Trump administration is working a deal, and I think Oracle is going to be there's going to be several owners, but they're going to be the primary one, Larry Ellison. And I think that I think TikTok is changing for the good. But now I've downloaded it. Before I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into TikTok first, like 4 years ago, I think I was overwhelmed. Like I was in shocked. I couldn't. I have to tell you that's crazy. Like I saw this guy that called himself the doctor, and what's happened in TikTok, you can call yourself a doctor, and people refer you as a doctor, treat you as a doctor, and you become the doctor in this virtual space, right? So he called the doctor, and he have a whole show against Israel. And you have to understand, every day, every single day, he get paid thousands of dollars by trashing Israel and the Jews and the Zionists. Every Jewish in his eyes is a Zionist, and he makes a lot of money. And you know what's sad? That a lot of Jews go there and participate with him and pay money.
Very sad.
That's so sad. Like I see it and I'm like, I have to talk about these things in my podcast. Like I have to talk about it and open the eyes for people, because if you're a young person sitting on TikTok and being indoctrinated by that, and you don't know the difference between right and wrong, but you see a person who seems intelligent, carry himself nice, but he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's using code words like Zionist that they don't even know what's the meaning of it, and people believe it. And that's scary. You understand?
Very. We'll definitely need to flesh that out more with future episodes for sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a break and
Yeah, for sure.
recognize our sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah.